Trans and HIV positive. What's it all about? What's it like? Joining me on the Plus Talk sofa here in the Plus Light studio today is Mallery Jenna Robinson and Kaelyn Grandy. Trans women, HIV positive women, something, I can't directly relate to because I'm a white cisgendered gay man, but I am living with HIV, so we have that in common. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us. Thanks.
Such an honor.
We know in this country that HIV is still disproportionately affecting Black and brown folks, and especially folks in your community, the trans community.
Right.
Mallery, you've been an advocate and an activist for a long time. When you look back at where you've come in the last 13 years, how does sitting on a couch and having a chat on a platform like Plus Life make you feel today that we have these conversations?
Wow, Karl, thank you again so much for having us. And I just want to say that for me, being a Black trans woman, an African-American trans woman, I remember getting diagnosed in 2011 at the age of 21. And growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, there weren't a lot of resources. There was the health department, and then there was the essentially Copeland Care Clinic, which is where I received my antiretroviral care.
Right.
But besides that, there weren't really any support systems or programs in place to uplift our folks living with HIV, especially those who were trans and of color. So I found myself very isolated. Unfortunately, I come from a very supportive family who not only affirms me having HIV, but also affirms me being a Black trans woman. So I've been able to be vulnerable in spaces with them pertaining to my HIV journey, as well as the healthcare providers at the Copeland Care Clinic.
And it pains me to say this, but your situation is quite unique in that respect, right? That you have that support and that love, and you've had it pre your HIV. You being a trans woman. Kaelyn, your story is incredibly, almost the polar opposite.
Right.
You found out you were HIV positive just literally 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
So what prompted you to get an HIV test?
Alcohol. The event I was at, it said a free HIV test, 2 free drinks.
Okay. I'm guessing based on that, you weren't expecting the results you got.
No, I've been dating for so long. My boyfriend now is also positive. Not just being HIV positive, but also being a trans woman is very hard for us to find love because we're afraid that we won't be accepted because of our status. And because once they find out that we are trans, oh, you're a terrible person, you mutilate your body, that makes it very hard for us to even be accepted. I've been told in the past that I'm an abomination. And it's very hard for me to talk about the support I don't have. In the past, Mallery has seen me start to cry over another interview that we did with APLA.
That's why this is so great today on this episode of Plus Talk, because you guys are here together. Mallery, as I said, for 13 years you've been advocating and speaking up, and this is great support. So how did you two find each other, and how do people like Kaelyn, in Kaelyn's situation, because sadly, as I said, so many trans people have nobody.
Yes.
How do they find a Mallery in their life?
Meeting Kaelyn at APLA Health was very life-changing. I had no idea that this beautiful being was going to be forever linked to me. And one of the ways it has been is just through our sisterhood of just getting to know each other. I've gotten to see Kaelyn slowly but surely come into her truth and affirm herself. And it's been such an honor and a privilege to be part of that process. To your other question around where can people find a Mallery, I would strongly encourage, go to your transgender health programs.
Yeah.
So many times, Karl, when we think of our LGBT resource centers, there aren't really too many transgender or non-binary, non-conforming resources that are directly just focused on that programming. You may get an event such as TDOV or TDOR, but never really any general programming for essential services and social services. So if you can find a resource center, an LGBT center that has a trans health program, I'm sure you'll meet, hopefully, a Mallery like me, or they're not doing their job.
What is it meant to have Mallery there as an HIV positive and trans sister ally?
It's been amazing. Mallory has been there for me ever since we met. Having Mallory in my life makes me want to talk, because I know I can talk to her about anything.
Talk to me about your journey since your HIV diagnosis specifically. How have you been coming to terms with it? Because it's still very fresh. It's still very new.
Well, when I first found out, it was very scary because I wasn't expecting to get that news. And the scariest part is I don't know how I got it. So, because I wasn't with my partner at this time. It can be very scary, and for the ones out there who don't know anything about HIV, it's not the end of the world. It's not this and that. There's medication you can take that will keep you healthy.
Talk to me, Mallory, about the unique circumstances that trans women face when it comes to testing, receiving that diagnosis if their test is positive, and then accessing the all-important care so that you can become undetectable and thus untransmittable.
To your first part, when it comes to getting testing, Kaelyn brought up a great point around like the fact that she got diagnosed based off of getting tested, and the incentive was 2 drinks.
Yeah, so you're right, in an event.
So that's not really bringing in community in a way that's going to really be holistic care, right? Incentivizing with alcohol to get someone to do an HIV test, we need to think a little outside of the box. And that's one of the things I encourage my incredible partners and community leaders alike to, yes, it's great. Of course, we all like to have a good time,
Sure.
but we have to figure out other ways to do that. So when it comes to incentivizing for HIV testing, I think it's great if it's going to be something beneficial in terms of maybe like a hotel voucher, right? Or maybe a transportation voucher. As we know, we talked about commuting earlier. So those are ways that we want to connect with our communities when we think that holistic. Maybe even access to our COVID-19 resources, monkeypox resources. These things are still that are very much real. And when it comes to the second part of once you get that HIV diagnosis, oftentimes we see community members who will enter into care in the moment, but then life happens. Some of us become unhoused, some of us become displaced, and before we know it, you're out of care. And before you know it, you're missing, taking your medicines, and you no longer have a prescription, and now you don't have a stable address to receive prescriptions, and neglect happens. So one of the things I like to encourage community leaders and partners alike is to make sure that you always find a way to continue to follow up. Keep those intake forms updated. Follow up with your clients, even if it's social media. I know so many times we think to ourselves, like, what is a professional boundary? But when we think about community members who are unhoused, living with HIV, and still don't have those resources needed to be well cared for, we have to do better. We have to continue to find ways to connect with them and engage and keep them and retained into care.
Kaelyn Grandy and Mallery Jenna Robinson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
That is going to do it for this episode of Plus Talk, where we're all about turning positive into a plus. If you want more information, check out the website, pluslifemedia.com. Also, be sure to check out Mallory's website, ahatefulhomicide.net. We'll put all of that information up. And remember, you can like, follow, share, tell your friends. Make sure you're following us on social media. We are at Plus Life Media. Until next time, take a moment to be nicer to one another. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.